Hey guys, welcome back. So today I'm going to be talking about the future of K-pop. I have to admit that I do spend a lot of my time looking at K-pop related videos and music videos. I mean, it makes sense because I like K-pop, so I watch K-pop stuff. I was actually watching a video by Brian and Ellen because I really like watching their dance covers, and yes, they're very good. And I came across one and I was like, wow, this song is really good. So I looked up the song. It was from a band called KDA, and I was like, oh, who's this new K-pop group? They sound like really good. Their voices are really good. So I looked them up, and of course, I couldn't find any people. No people at all. Well, I did find people later after looking much harder. I was able to find the original artist, and that's when I found that KDA was a virtual band. It was created for League of Legends. I mean, for those of you who don't know, it was created for League of Legends, and they basically took different musicians, and some of them are members of other K-pop groups, and some of them are just individual singers, and they put them all together into a what I'm gonna call fake band. I'd feel bad calling it a fake band because honestly, the music is so good that it really doesn't feel like some sort of weird fake band. It feels like a legitimate K-pop group. So that is what I found, and boy was I was surprised. I mean, I have seen things like that in the past, but this video, I found more. That was the one that they covered, and it was just so well done. It was so much better done than so many other videos I've seen in the past. So I don't know how many of you will recognize this song, but it basically goes, Kali that girl, Kali go girl, Kali don't stop, Kali don't skr, Kali got a job, Kali go to work, to go on Jinnah, don't get burnt. I love that song. I love it a lot. I've learned at least part of it. That is a song that they sing, and this is actually something that you are starting to see from more artists. So I'm pretty sure that actually they kind of took the idea or borrowed the idea from KDA and League of Legends. But it also seems that another band called Aespa has borrowed the idea. So basically they have obviously real singers, but they have taken on avatars as a supplement so they can do both avatars in their videos as well as just use the regular singers. I also wanted to mention that I'm starting to see this from some other bands, except in a much lazier way. Not to throw off on ITZY, but yeah, so they just released a very cartoon Zepeto inspired video where they're just made into cartoons, which I'm not gonna say I completely dislike, but I definitely much prefer a specific avatar that is that person, you know what I mean? That way it's a little bit more matching with the person's persona, instead of just being a random cartoon that anyone could generate, people can generate emojis and things like that. So I really like the way that Aespa borrowed the idea and used it, and obviously I really like the way that KDA used it. Although there is definitely room for improvement in terms of the avatars, it is something that I feel like they will be able to work out and get perfected in the future. So I do want to talk more about Aespa, but I will come back to them later. First, I want to mention all of the sort of upsides to avatars. I think we've all heard the very many downsides to them, people could be replaced. I think that's the major downside. But there are also some upsides to them, and that is why I wanted to mention them. So first, I would have to say that they're improving and they will start to get better with time. That is just something. They will stop being these weird, creepy things. And I think also there is chance for resurgence, and they're not going to be like they were in 2000, where they were just kind of pasted on or awkward. Also, I do see a lot more room for creativity, which I think is great, because basically they're not real, so you can pretty much mold them into anything you want, and they're not really specifically attached to an identity. Many people are very specifically caught up in identity, even if it doesn't necessarily match the tone or vibe of what the artist or actor or whatever is going for. And I feel with the avatars they can actually really hone in and be more specific. Also in terms of eyes, hair, makeup, wings. I mean, one of the girls in KDA has, I mean, they're not really wings. They're just like these like diamond things that come off, but they can be like wings sometimes. Also transform and can disappear and reappear at will, which we can sort of do on like stage performances with like a puff of smoke and like pyrotechnics, but it gets a little bit dangerous and also kind of expensive, and it's more like a magic trick than like actually being able to appear and disappear. So I think that is something that is really cool. Also, in terms of like production, I'm sure that the companies, especially for like K-pop groups, would really enjoy the fact that they would be able to have the avatars perform and they don't need to give them rest or sleep or food or pay them or anything. But I would have to say, I think avatars will definitely do better as long as they are paired with people, especially for right now, rather than them being separate from people. Then people will be okay with seeing them like perform in certain videos and like switch in and out. That is what I think would be like the ideal situation, rather than just having it be like an avatar for no reason. Also, another upside is the fact that they can pick the best singer to voice the avatar, the best dancer to dance for the avatar, and they can also have a creative team give it a really cool and unique type of look. Put the whole thing together and just make it work, and basically it makes a performer with like, you know, no flaws. So basically I just think this is going to be a new piece of the puzzle in terms of performance, especially in K-pop. I think a lot of people also kind of think of the industry, or like the music industry, as evolving right now, and people are like, oh, everything's changing really quickly, and they're right in terms of the speed things are changing. However, things have changed from time to time. Music and things were basically pretty much always performed in person or live. There was no other way to hear things. Musicians like Beethoven or whatever, they had to go and just like perform for a concert. But by the 20s, then people had to go and actually record songs and be able to put them out on records and like old school gramophones. And yeah, and then pretty much by the 1940s and 50s and on from there, especially like for groups like the Temptations and like Supremes, they had to do TV performances. So there could be a camera literally right in front of them, and they had to perform live to an audience. And then music videos really came into play, especially with obviously MTV music. So things have been changing, and I would say this is another big change, that now pretty much artists have to do music, television, radio, fashion, social media, interviews, activism, and even variety shows. Definitely have a lot on their plates already, but I would have to say that I'm sure avatars are also going to be added into that equation pretty soon. So on the tech side, I should mention that I have actually personally made a couple of VR films, virtual reality films. Actually, more than a couple. I made some like practice videos to figure out how it worked. I can personally tell you that VR and things like these high-level graphics take up a lot of computer space. I killed a computer space. When I say that, I'm not joking, and it wasn't my computer, goodness, but I like had to upload everything onto a computer, and boy did that, it just killed it. Yeah. And also in terms of graphics like this, it's not just that you film it or create it, but you also have to go in and edit it and put it in software systems like maybe Maya or Nuke, and all of those systems add up. And up until recently, there was something that pretty much everyone was missing in terms of tech, and that was 5G. But now, since there's 5G, it'll actually become a whole lot easier, more practical, and faster to do things like VR or these like avatars. And the reason that I'm also mentioning them together is the fact that these avatars will work way better in VR than like real people. So as people start to adopt more VR systems at home and things like that, it will actually be way easier if you have an avatar for each band member instead of a real person, because the avatars are just more 3D and look way better in VR than a real person would. And because people want to be more and more immersed in the things they're watching, I just think that VR and avatars and things like that will definitely start to encompass people a whole lot more. So coming back to Aespa, if you guys are wondering how this affects them, I would just have to say, I think that maybe they have a little bit their cart before the horse. Even though it is a very, very great idea, I really don't know how much thought their production company put into the fact that they were going to be doing these avatars. Avatars and things like that actually take a long time to create. They're actually not that fast. And a lot of movies that you'll see with like motion capture can take months. Even if the filming only takes a couple of months, it can actually take like 7 or 8 months for the artist to go in and like nitpick and manipulate everything with these avatars. So even though they can be easier and cheaper in some ways, they also can take a whole lot longer to develop. So even though Aespa did debut in November of last year, they have only released one song so far. Now, I'm not saying it's been a ton of time. It's been about 2.5 to 3 months, so it hasn't been a huge amount of time, but they have only released one song, and that does have me a little bit concerned that they may be spending too much time on the avatars and trying to get all of that working, and maybe not enough time with writing and creating new songs to release. And that is something that I feel like could cause them a little bit of trouble. But if they can make it work, I definitely think you will start to see it, especially from a lot of new debuting groups over the next couple of years. If you guys like this video, then feel free to give it a thumbs up. And if you had any questions for me, then feel free to drop them in the comment section. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.